And joining us now, you know him from the TUF Nations series, Canada versus Australia, a proud member of Team Canada, the one, the only Matt Desroches on the program. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing very great today. How are you doing?
Doing very well. Great to hear your voice, and great to see you on the TUF Nations show. I mean, you look like you're having a blast out there, as most of Team Canada does.
Yeah, it was a surreal experience, you know. I couldn't have believed the amount of fun that I was going to have on the show. It really opened my eyes to how good human beings can be and how much fun you can have in a sport like this.
Yeah. And you're not exactly the typical MMA fighter. I mean, you're a certified meteorological technician, someone who reads biomechanics in their spare time. On the surface, you don't seem like the kind of guy that would spend their time risking brain trauma. So what brought you to MMA?
You know what? It didn't start initially this way. I wasn't always the nerd that I am today. Pretty much a fairly troubled child, and as well as a teenager. And I had that. I needed an outlet, something along the lines of MMA or boxing or wrestling. And I did a lot of aggressive male-dominant sports like powerlifting and stuff like that. And I found that MMA was the largest challenge that could be brought to me. So it just ensued me at first, and once you get into the sport and you realize, you know, the risk involved with the mental damage and you know, your physical health, and I really started to look into it more. So always being more cautious about it now and trying to change my game around a little bit to make it a little easier on my body, and so I don't have as many consequences leaving this game as some of the guys do.
Yeah, do you take that cerebral approach into the cage in your strategy planning? Because there's some guys who, you know, they get out there and they just want to go and they want to fight. And there's other guys in there who look at it more like it's human chess and plot out every move. Which philosophy appeals more to you?
They both really appeal to me, and I think there's a way that both of that can fit in your game. I believe my training is very cerebral. Everything I do in my training is geared towards to make everything instinct in the fight, so my body can react in a cerebral approach. You know, because you don't have all the time in the world to really set things up. You know, so as goes my striking, it's pretty much instinctual due to my game planning, in training, and the stuff I practice in training. But a lot more of my clinching work in jiu-jitsu game is more along the lines of paranoid psychosis, where I'm always thinking a few moves ahead and trying to, you know, position myself in a place where I'm expending little energy and still keeping in a dominant position.
And you also hold a rank in the Canadian Armed Forces. Has being in the Army improved your discipline when it comes to training and fighting?
It definitely has a role in there. I believe I started MMA a little bit after I got into the military, and you know, so the military did kind of mold me at first, but also I was very dedicated to my athletics throughout my life, and I think that's the most thing that gave me the discipline that I have today. Is just the desire to be the best at anything I did, and you know, a lot of people attribute that to the military shaping me, but I don't want to give it all the credit, but it definitely did help for sure.
And you're still very early in your career, a 4-0 pro record, the first pro fight happening in early 2012. Were you surprised when you were selected for the cast of TUF Nations? Because there was a lot of well-known Canadian MMA fighters that didn't make that cut.
For sure, you know, and I know there's obviously going to be lots of controversy about me making the show, and as well as maybe some of the other people making the show in Australia and maybe in Canada. And that's the way it is, but when it comes down to it, they want someone they can market and someone that's, you know, very appealing and has an exciting style. And, you know, this show doesn't always pick the best guys out there. Sometimes it just picks the right guy to build the show, you know what I mean, to build the exciting fights and the things that the fans want to see.
And the team seems to be heavily focused on people who have an affiliation with the TriStar gym in Montreal. And while TriStar is, you know, no doubt a great camp, do you feel it was overrepresented in the selection process?
I don't really think it was overrepresented. You know, so many guys come out of TriStar. It's really the mecca of training in Canada. It's hard to really look at anywhere else. And the thing is, with TriStar, there's so much attention around that they're obviously going to be more recognized before they even get on the show coming from that gym. So the people have a better look at them, I'm sure, through the whole tryout process. You know, but it's hard to really say because I'm not well versed in all these small gyms throughout Canada. I'm sure there's some guys that got slipped past, but you know, there's always an opportunity for the next year and the next seasons that are coming up, and also there's other ways to get in the UFC. So a lot of these guys that didn't make the cut, you know, it's not necessarily like, oh, your shot's done. You know, it would have been great for this experience, but you may be getting in the UFC a better way, and it may be an easier way for you. So it's really kind of, you know, it is what it is.
Is there anyone who you would have liked to have seen on the team that didn't make the cut?
Yeah, for sure. One of my buddies, Adam Hunter, tried out for 185 pounds, and he's a freak of nature, man. Obviously, his record wasn't appealing enough at the time because he was only 2-1. But right after that, he had fought in ECC, I believe, and knocked out Teddy Ash in 6 seconds. And this guy's, you know, he's the real deal. He didn't have time throughout his career in the military to commit to training, but now it's one of his main priorities. So it's going to be really nice to see what he does in the next few years in the 185 division, because he's definitely one of the most talented guys I've ever seen.
Definitely have to keep an eye out for Adam Hunter, but you are on the team, you are in that house. What was it like walking into the house for that first time?
It was dream-like state. It was really, I didn't know what was going on for the first couple of days. You know, it was so surreal, and I didn't know what state of consciousness if I was in correctly. So the first few days, it was such a trip seeing these cameras around and just sitting back and kind of taking everything in. It was really hard to conceive what was going on here, and you don't really notice it. Like at first, of course, the cameras are in your face and it's kind of awkward, but after a while, you start to forget about what's actually going on here. You forget that there's a show going on, and you're just kind of co-living with these people and their lives and training together, and it just feels like a great training camp to be in, and it's really kind of nice to have that feeling coming on towards the middle and the end of the show.
Could they have found a more stereotypical Canadian woodsy type cabin to put you guys in? I mean, they had to have made that place especially for the show. That is just so freaking Canadian.
I would have thought so too, but the guy that owns the resort that we stayed on, there's many cabins like that, and he had taken us up to his lodge to check out his own place, and it's nothing that much different than what we stayed in, and it's just a gorgeous place to be in up there in northern Quebec and in the cottage country. I really just enjoyed the tranquility and just the peace from all the stuff that goes on in the city and work, and it was such an amazing time.
Do they all have a stuffed moose head in the main room?
Yeah, that was one of the prized objects that it was probably the biggest find if you mess with that thing. That was the most prized possession in the house, though. Guys are kind of fooling around hanging stuff off it at first, but we got warned pretty good a few times to stay away from it.
Were you familiar with many of the Aussie guys coming into the tournament? Because, you know, I've talked to people in Australia, and there's a lot of Aussie fight personalities, including Rowdy Beck Hyatt, who said that, who are these guys?
Yeah, there was a lot of ambiguity between the guys that were making the show. When we had met up as Team Canada, we were kind of wondering who had made the show, and a lot of the guys were surprised that certain guys didn't make it. But there's obviously there's more than just that. There's a lot of things that goes on to making the show. You know, you have to have a clear record. You have to pass medicals. You know, there's a lot of things that goes on behind the scenes that could prevent these guys from participating in the competition. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. So I think a lot of that had to play with that happening. So, you know, the guys that they brought were the best guys they can get. And let me tell you, it's going to surprise a lot of people on how well some of these guys fight.
All right, we're going to have to look forward to that. What has it been like watching these first couple of episodes back on TV? Do you feel it's a fair representation? Do you think that there's anything that should have been included that has been left on the cutting room floor?
Obviously, there's stuff that you think that should be included. There's a lot of funny moments that happen in the house that you feel that deserve some time and appreciation from other people. But you know, you can only put so much time in there of role. You got about 30 minutes because the fight takes usually around 15 minutes to play out, and so 45 minutes is all you're dealing with. It's hard to really squeeze in, you know, what goes on in a run of a week, you know, in one episode.
What's one moment that you wish had made air that hasn't made air?
I would have to say after Elias's fight, Elias Theodorou in the last episode, he had indulged in some pretty questionable chicken beforehand that we kind of warned him against. And after the fight, he had kind of spewed it back up in a laundry basket, and it just made a mess everywhere because he tried to take it out, and there was trailing all over the room. And we had a pretty good laugh at that, and other guys started to go at it and started gagging. So that was a pretty funny moment that I wish I would have made it. But, you know, I'm glad his reputation was, you know, saved by keeping it out.
Yeah, that does sound like a funny moment, but then again, I can see why the producers may not want a chain of vomit on national television like that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah. Well, Canada has started strong, though. 2-0, big wins by two friends of this show. You mentioned Elias Theodorou and, of course, Raging Cajun Johnson. How have the Canadians been gelling as a team to this point in the broadcast?
Great, man. We all keep in touch very well, and as this point in time, too, we are keeping well. You know, with each other on the show. And the thing is, you know, we're keeping in touch with these guys. I would say this will continue to go on throughout our lives. You know, we've become such good friends over the period of the show. It's really hard to fathom when you think about you're spending every waking hour with these guys, you know, and you're going to war every day in the gym, and you're watching them go to battle every few days. So it's such a strong character building and relationship building experience. You know, that's gonna last for a long time, and I'm so happy that I can share it with these guys. They're great human beings.
Yeah, and obviously, with a bunch of fighters, there's going to be a real, you know, a lot of alpha males in the group. Has there anyone step forward from within the team to kind of be a leader?
Definitely Nordine. You know, he's got that personality where he holds himself in high respect, and rightfully so, because he holds himself very well, and he's a very respectable human being, and you know, he plays the role very well, and at the end of it, people are kind of joking around with it, but everyone still you know, didn't cross the line, and they respected him very well, and you know, I felt very well being under his wing. You know, towards the end of the show, he helped me out with a lot of things, and he suits that father figure role very well, you know, so I'm sure he has a great future ahead of him, and maybe when he's done his career, you know, he could take up a coaching role, and you know, because he would do great at that. He's a very amazing natural-born leader.
Yeah, Nordin Taleb, as a fighter and as a person, is just one of those guys that commands respect. A lot like Patrick Côté, as a matter of fact. What have your impressions been of Patrick Côté as a coach?
Patrick's an amazing guy, man. He's first and foremost hilarious. He's such a funny guy. He's always happy, always in a great mood. You know, he's very good for raising morale throughout the team. And second, you know, he's probably one of the best training partners you could ask for. You know, he'll go in every day, every training session, ready to spar with whoever, as many rounds as they want, roll with anyone. You know, get any information that anyone's looking for. And you know, he's such a good, stable support in the backbone of Team Canada, and we're really blessed to have a guy that cared so much, because you see on other seasons where the coaches start to make it a lot about themselves, and the drama that ensues between you know, them and the other coaches, and that's the farthest thing away from what Patrick and the other coaches were doing. So it was such a blessing to have him on this season.